What's going on, Sumolings? Chris here from AppSumo, and today we are joined with the fabulous Chrystie, who I'm sure all of you know from our AppSumo videos. Today we are going to be talking about the 5 business mistakes that people make when they're launching a new business. Chrystie, you have a little bit of experience in this, yeah?
You guys, Sumolings, I have a lot of experience, both in business and a little bit of experience in failure. But you know what? I would say, here's the thing. It's never a failure, right? It's just a learning opportunity. And also you can't fail if you quit. So if you just keep on going, you won't ever fail.
And you haven't quit over some time.
I've quit a few times, actually. That's why I'm here today, y'all.
But you're still doing it. You've fallen down a couple times, but got back up a couple more times.
I'm still doing it. And so let me kind of frame this scenario for you Sumolings who may not know my background. So in the last 10 years, I've started and sold 6 websites. I've also had a very successful network marketing business. And all of those I started and then sold, right? So I'm really great at starting things, but when the road gets rough, I tend to jump ship. So, and you know,
along with a lot of other people.
Along with a lot of other people, you're right. And so, but you learn a lot of things. And so today what I'd like to talk to you about is some of those roadblocks that you may come up against. And instead of quitting, how to sort of persevere through those. So that's what we'll talk about today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, before we go into that, let's start with some of like what that looked like early on with those successes, like starting and building and then selling these businesses. What does that look like? Because I think for a lot of people, because for you were doing websites, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so a lot of people I'm sure would be interested, like, how do you end up selling a website? What type of website would people even buy?
Yeah. Oh, guys, it's super embarrassing. The first several websites that I sold were actually in celebrity gossip, right? And so actually this actually leads into a really great sort of theme here. Because when people are building businesses, it's always like, should I go for my passion or should I go where the money's at?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's kind of always like a game where your passion may not lead to a lot of money, but if you go for money, you know, you're going to get burnt out real quick because you don't even like what you're doing. So back in the day, I sold my first website in 2007. So it was like the wild west
Early
of
on.
the internet. Yeah. And
Post.com boom, coming back into it. Okay.
So I started a website of celebrity gossip in 2005 and not really sure of, you know, where it was going to go. All I know is that it was my hobby. Like I loved People magazine. I loved celebrity gossip. So it was like, quote unquote, a passion of mine. But
so was it like built to sell, or it was like, I'm just going to start a website, see if I can get traffic?
Exactly.
Okay.
So it was not built to sell. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and I was like, I need something. I need to do something. But I've always been sort of entrepreneurial, even as a young child. So I knew, you know what, I can probably turn this into money. And I did, and just wait till the end of the story because this is where I really got like the biggest kick in the butt. But so I ran the site for 2 years. And again, this was back in the day, you know. Perez Hilton, TMZ didn't even exist. They didn't even exist back then. Yeah, they didn't even exist back then. But so I built my website up until like, I think it had like 500,000 visitors a month, right? It's huge.
Wow.
And because there wasn't as much competition back then.
Yeah.
And I monetized it through just ads. I mean, again, in 2006, there wasn't like a whole lot of affiliate opportunities for that and in just ads. And it got to a point where I had run it, but I had my second child and I thought, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. So I sold it. So at the time, I forget the name of the website, but there was a website where you could go on and sell a business. And someone bought it from me. And then a year later, he sold it for 10 times what he paid me for.
Did he do a lot of like changes and updates to it? Or?
Did very minor changes. Yeah. Okay. And so that was probably my biggest business failure, was not seeing the potential of that. Right. But all it did was give me some motivation to recreate that model.
It's a huge lesson too.
It's huge
like, oh
lesson.
Wow, there's bigger money in this than I thought.
Bigger money. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And so I went on to do that 5 more times because I thought this is a repeatable business model. And so that's how I got here.
Yeah. Well, and that seems like one of the things that you're so good at is like jumping on these trends early, which I'm sure we'll go into a bit later with TikTok.
Yes.
But it's like you're very good at finding out these opportunities and getting in and playing around with it, being like, okay, how can I turn this into a business? Like you said, just having that entrepreneurial spirit.
Absolutely. But I do want to talk about the downfalls of trends as well. Okay. So my most popular and my biggest sale of a website was a personal finance and couponing website. So I sold that. Know that. Yes. Okay. I sold that one in 2015. And I started it out of a necessity because I was couponing at the time. I just wanted to save money. And so again, it was a passion of mine. But what happened just shortly thereafter is that the television show Extreme Couponing became very popular. So all of a sudden, couponing, personal finance was like this huge trending topic. And I got on again before it had hit its peak. But what happened is when you chase trends, it eventually is going to hit its peak and then it's going to go downhill. And that's exactly what I saw with my couponing site. So I think the show became popular 2011, 2012. That was kind of the peak. And then 2013, 14, 15, it was kind of a slow decline. And I saw with that, you see your revenue start decline and then you start to scramble and then it becomes not fun anymore. And so then I just was scrambling so hard. I was really burning myself out at the end of that. And, for a year, I knew it's time to move on. It's time to sell, but it was my baby. And I love this project so much. And I was so passionate about it. I love the way that it helped people sort of affect change in their lives with their savings. And, but at the same time, I completely burnt out, which I know we'll also talk about later. So it was time to sell.
Yeah.
But with that said, I think as I go forward, as I look for new business ideas, I no longer want to chase trends because they die out, right? So imagine like what fidget spinner people think now. You know what I mean? Like 3 years ago.
Bad time to get into the fidget spinner business.
3 years ago, you could have made $1 million in a month.
Yeah.
Now you can make nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think if there's one, piece of advice that I could give you is that make sure that the business or the niche that you're about to go into is something that's going to be long lasting.
Yeah.
If you want a long lasting business.
And maybe the distinguisher there is like between fads and trends.
Yeah.
Because I would say like fidget spinners were like a fad.
Agreed.
But like social media was a trend.
Yeah.
And it's like if you got on social media early, there have been people that were like on Vine that have been able to then parlay that to like Instagram and then TikTok. So you can get this following that comes with you versus like these fad things that come and go very quickly.
Yeah. Well, I would argue that social media is really like it's a channel for marketing, right? So if you get on early, and we'll talk about TikTok, guys. I really want to talk about TikTok. If you get on those marketing channels early, yes, you're going to see a lot of like, success. But in terms of like basing a business around it, it's a little bit different.
That's fair. Yeah. Because it's almost like you're trying to time the market. It's like, you're doing a personal finance blog. It's like, how do I know if this trend going up is going to continue going up or is it going to go down? When do I sell my stock in this? Do I wait for it to recover? Like, I'm reading a book right now called The Behavior Gap. And it's all about this, like how going against these different principles, like how do you determine if this is the proper move, regardless of what's going to like happen next when you don't know what the future is going to be? How did you think about that? Like, how do you think about it's going up? Will it keep going up? It's going down. Is it going to keep going down? How do you make like the right decision in that moment?
I don't know that there's like an easy answer to that, right? So
it's a tough question. I think a lot of people are trying to figure that one out.
And so I have a kind of an example, guys, I've had lots of businesses. I have another business example where that exact thing happened. So again, in 2016, 2017, there was a very popular leggings company that was a network marketing company. And I joined on. And I joined on because my friends were making a killing. They were making tons of money. I didn't personally love the clothes, but I, wanted money. Yeah. So I, as we all do. So anyway, I paid $5,000 to invest in the company, started the business, and I did well immediately, right out of the gate. Like 8 months into it, I had already sold over $200,000 or close to $200,000 worth of clothing. That's like insane for 8 months. Yeah. But what happened is the company's popularity started waning again. And it's like, oh my goodness, like I'm doing really well, right? I'm seeing a crowd of other people in that same company who are failing, who are just like declaring bankruptcy because they've put all their money in this. Yeah. But I'm still doing well. Do I ride this out? And I think I waited for like 6 months just to see where it was going. And at the end of the day, I thought I can no longer ride this out because personally, I didn't even like what I was selling at the time. Yeah. And so it was time for me to move on. I think, again, it's going to be different for everybody and depending on what business they are. But once you decide to either stay or go, you have to commit and you have to give it your all.
Yeah. Walk me through what that emotional roller coaster is like for those 6 months.
Oh my
goodness.
Like
that's got to be keeping you up at night, incredibly stressful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So don't get me wrong. I love being an entrepreneur. I love working for myself. But one of the things that I struggle with is that entrepreneurial roller coaster, right? Like one day you're making $1,000 a day, the next day you're making 3, and you're like, I quit, I can't do this anymore. So it's a very emotional roller coaster because you're the only one who can affect change, right? It's not like you can go to your coworkers and say, hey, help me out, or you can't go to your boss and ask, what should I do to make this better? It's like, okay, what's really important to me? Is it money? Is it my integrity? You know what I mean? You got to kind of look at all these pieces of the puzzle and then decide what's going to make me most proud and like go from there. But yeah, no, it's like up all night and like yelling at my husband, yelling at my kids. I'm just like grumpy all the time.
You can't leave it at the office.
I think, and actually that's, now that I look back at it, like the commonality between when I knew it was time to sell the couponing site and when it was time to leave the network marketing company, it was just like I was grumpy all the time. Yeah. I was probably drinking more margaritas than I should as well. So if you start drinking and you're grumpy to the people in your life, maybe it's time to make a change.
That's a good kind of baseline. Maybe I need to make a couple changes
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So I think another worry that a lot of entrepreneurs have is like, what market is the right market for them to start in? Like, so they can be making the decision between like profit versus passion, but then even within those, even if they make that right decision, it's like, what if that is a very crowded market? Like for you, I've even thought about doing something in like personal finance, but that feels like an incredibly crowded market. So it's like, even if you think there could be money in there, like people are making money in it, it's something you're passionate about. It like kind of checks both boxes, but it's also super crowded.
Yeah.
What is the way you process that?
Guys, it is 2020 and everyone has their own personal brand and their own business. And every single niche is super crowded, right? So, let's take it back to my personal finance couponing site. I started that in 2010, where again, it was trending. There were a lot of people doing the same thing that I did. And I just started it again, because I love a side hustle and I wanted to make money. But what happened was, so I know I didn't talk about this in the first time I mentioned the coupon site. So I started the coupon site and the show Extreme Couponing came on the air. They reached out to me and they asked me to be on the show.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be great for business. Of course I want to be on the show. On top of that, they actually flew me out to Denver to be part of their commercials and their advertisements. And once I was out there, I met 2 of the other coupon bloggers who were out there who's going to be, part of the ad campaign with me. And I immediately felt like, I don't know what the F I'm doing here. Like these people just know so much more than I do. What am I even doing here? Yeah. I don't deserve to be here. I feel like a fake, right? So actually it's a little bit of imposter syndrome there. So not only did I feel overwhelmed because these people knew more than me, but there was just also so many of them out there, right? Yeah. And it's like, why would these people choose me?
Why am I important?
Why am I important versus these people who just know more than I do, right? So I struggled a lot with that. And we did the ad campaign in Denver and I came back and I just thought, oh my goodness, do I even continue? Because what's the point? You know what I mean? Like I felt like such a fake. But what happened is I have this thing where it's like, if you're ever worrying, you need to take action, right? And so the action that I did was I started teaching in-person classes.
Like personal finance classes?
Oh my goodness, yeah. Couponing classes.
Oh, okay.
So like a Tupperware party, someone would invite me to their house, invite their friends, and I would charge everyone to do this
Okay,
class.
So what's the pitch? You're going up to your friend and you're like, hey, come over tonight because I'm going to teach you what?
Yes, right. At the time, but I had impressive numbers back then, right? Okay. So I could do $500 worth of groceries for like $5. So it was pretty impressive. Yeah. So people there wasn't a whole lot of convincing. Yeah. Anyway, so my point was that when I would do these in-home parties, people were just so blown away by the information I was giving them. They hadn't heard about it, right? So if you're in a niche, you look around, that's all you see. You're probably following the same, people in your niche on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, and you're seeing that all the time. So you think a market is crowded. Whereas people out there who need your information, they're not also following all of those people. So the way that you deliver information, the way that you deliver your product is still going to be unique from what your competitors are doing. So I would say go for it, right? Yeah. Everyone has different experiences and different ways to convey information. And they say like, you're a special person and people like you. Yeah. And so people want to see what you have to give. So never be afraid to go out, even if that market is crowded, for sure.
And I think like a good way to go about that too is like, what are the things that your friends are constantly being like if they were going to describe you to someone else, they'd be like, oh, Chrystie, she's the one that X, Y, and Z. And for you, it's just who you are. So those might not stand out as like the coolest or most interesting things, but it's like, you do. I remember I heard this story about like Nicolas Cage, and he thought there was just like nothing unique about him. But then he saw somebody do an impression of him, and he's like, oh, wow, I have all of these mannerisms that are so unique to me that just like you don't notice because you're with you all of the time.
Absolutely. You will overlook like your greatest assets, your strengths. I think I've done that before. I've gone to Facebook and I said, hey, if I was going to start a new business tomorrow, what do you think I would do? And I've had people be like, you should be a podcast host. You should be a spokesperson, a webinar. It's like, that doesn't seem like a real talent to me, right? But at the same time, it's
100% a talent for you.
It's something that not all people can do, right? And for me, it's nothing, but other people feel like, wow, that's really something. So
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, everyone has their own experience and different angle to bring to this stuff. So it's like, even if they're saying like, yeah, you're good at personal finance, it's okay, everybody's good. And it's like, yeah, but they don't have the life experience they have. Like you have all of these different things about you that it's like, you could be a mom, you could be from this area of the country, you could have grown up in this lifestyle, you could have this type of job. Like there are a million ways to go about the same topic.
Absolutely. And I would say this though, if you are going to enter a crowded market, you still need to figure out how you're different. And you need to figure that out pretty quick, right? So you need to enter the market with like a unique value perspective. For me, I'm getting into nutrition coaching and I want to do some training and stuff. And that market is oversaturated all over the place, right? Like even in-person trainers, in-person coaches, online. But my niche is going to be women over 40. And that's a smaller niche, but like that is a niche that I can speak to because I am over 40. I've had the same...
People don't believe it, but you keep saying it.
I am over 40, but I have those same experiences, right? So I'll be able to speak to this crowd. So again, don't be afraid to enter a crowded market, but find a way that you can carve out your own sort of niche within that market.
Now, when you're doing that, how do you know if it's too small? So it's like in the example I'll use is my friend was thinking about starting a podcast for like food startups in Austin. But then the concern, it's like, it's very niche. And so it's like, it's focused and not as crowded. But at the same time, it's like, does it allow for growth? It's like, what if it gets boring talking about food and you want to talk about other startups in Austin, or you want to talk about other cities where things are like, how do you balance like the niche versus like the growth potential?
Yeah. Well, so the first thing I ever do when I haven't, a business idea is I go to Google and I see who else is doing this. And if people are doing it, great. I'll see what they're doing and I'll see how I can be different. If no one is doing it, that's a red flag. Like people have obviously had that idea before and maybe they've tried it and they've gone into the oblivion because it didn't work. If you can't find someone who's doing it and you have a tough decision to make, you either like say, I'm going to try it, or you abandoned the idea because you're like, okay, other people have probably tried this. But I would say that if you're interested, if your friend is interested in food startups, like just go for it and see what happens, right? So the evolution of a business, of a website, whatever he's going to do will happen, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And it's easier than ever to start now.
And not only that, but like he could start with food startups and then still, maybe go into, I don't even know what there is out there, but more of like a related topic, right? And so slowly creep onto different.
Start small, and then if you validate that, then you can go and grow from there.
Well, you have to make sure you like doing the business too, right? Don't let that stop you. Don't say, well, I don't know if I'll be able to scale this. Well, if you might not even like doing the business.
You might not be able to make your first $100 on this. So before you think about like, when I'm making $1 million, am I too narrow?
Just take action, see if you like doing it and see if it's monetizable, and then figure it out.
What are some ways people can like trick themselves into taking action? Because I think like that exact scenario happens so much where like, I have this idea, I think it's really cool. And then you find all of these ways to talk yourself out of it before like you put together like, Google Docs and spreadsheets, and you just like say it's a podcast. You haven't recorded a single episode. So it's like, how do you get to that point where you're doing action?
I find that people get stuck in research mode, right? So they're like, okay, I want to start a podcast. I'm going to read every blog post there is about starting a podcast. I'm going to get all the equipment, like the top of the line equipment. And you just got to do it. You just have to do it. And you have to, because practice really does make perfect. You just have to get out there. For example, the nutrition coaching thing, I'm still kind of green about it. And what the action that I'm taking, instead of being like, oh, maybe I should get a different certification. Maybe I should get a specialization is I'm going on Instagram and I'm asking my following, hey, what do you want to know about nutrition?
Yeah.
And then I'm sort of like getting my gills wet. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, I know what I'm talking about. And it also lets people know that, oh, this is what Chrystie is doing now. So I think to take action, even if it's just to your friends and family, to help you get more comfortable. But stop researching. Stop going out and getting more courses and classes and certifications. Just start doing it.
Even just like coming up with a deadline for like what that research period is. So like you were saying with the podcast, it's like, it would good to be spending the time to be like, what other podcasts are out there that are doing the same thing? What angle are they taking? How can I differentiate? But it's like, maybe do that for a couple days or a week.
Yeah.
Then it's like after this week, then maybe the research then shifts to like what you're doing, where you're actually, it's research, but you're engaging with your target audience. You're not just like continuing to stay in your head.
Yeah. And I should say, I mean, don't never buy a course or do the research. You always have to do the research. And so a couple years ago, I created a digital course about blogging, and I bought Amy Porterfield's like webinars that convert course. It's like $1,200. Yeah. But I knew I wanted to go fast, right? So I bought her course, learned all there was, and then immediately started working on it, right? So there's a case for doing the research, but you need to do your action like immediately.
And I guess knowing what is the outcome you're going to get by doing that research? Is it going to be, and then I do more research? Like for you, it's, I'm going to take this course so I can launch this thing and I'm going to have like a tangible thing by the end of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because people get stuck in research mode and like balk on things forever. And you know what? I'm actually, if I'm being honest, like right now, I'm currently balking on so I had a business idea about a year ago. I wanted to start a marketing agency for real estate agents, and I'm working on it. I like when the inspiration strikes, I'm working on it, but I'm balking on it. Like I'm not sure that it's what I want to do. So I'm still creating content. I'm still reaching out to people, but I'm just kind of like taking my time. I'm not taking as much action as I should. Okay, is so what I'm saying.
How did these steps manifest? Like where did the inspiration come from? And then what did you do with it?
So the inspiration for the real estate market. So I would say like 11, 12 years ago, I was like the in-house marketing consultant for one of the top real estate agents in the state of Maine.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I always knew that was a good niche to be in because real estate agents are really great at selling, not so great at marketing. So there's an opportunity there. And so as I looked back, last year, I was like, what do I want to start? Because y'all, I always have like ideas in my head. I'm sure you do too. If you're watching this video and you follow AppSumo, you always have a billion business ideas. And I'm like, you know what, maybe I'll do this because it's a niche I already know. It's a niche that I can penetrate really quickly. And I have all the skills to make this work. And I got really excited about it, like built the website, did all the things. And then I was like, you know what? I'm missing this like little heart tug. I'm missing the passion. Like this is just something I could do and it would be successful, but I don't feel like it'll be like that I'll be super happy with it. Yeah. And so I've just been kind of still working on it. And as a matter of fact, last week I sent out my first digital product, to sort of like a beta testing group of real estate agents, and they loved it. They were awesome. Like, this is amazing. Like, how can I pay you for this? And I'm like, I don't know. Don't pay me. I don't know. I'm just figuring it out. So.
Well, that's good validation. So like, okay, so
it's good validation.
How do you balance that? Like with like the profit versus the passion?
Yeah. I don't know.
That's what you're trying to figure out.
This is, especially with this one. If I were giving you advice, I would say to go with your passion. And I think that's why I'm just taking my time because I'm like, I don't feel the passion right now. Yeah. But I also like the idea of like the dollar signs are like flashing in my head because I think this is a good niche.
Yeah. Because I think the devil's advocate approach is like sometimes, passion can be overrated or passion can have a, quick burnout time where it's like you're really passionate about something, but will that sustain you through but it's not going the way I want it to go. So
and it's inevitably going to go sour down, like you're gonna have ups and like I told you, the entrepreneurial roller coaster. If you're not committed to the cause, then it's gonna be really hard. Like with my personal financing and coupon site, I hung on for probably a year and a half, a year longer than I should have because I was committed to the cause. Because I knew that I was affecting people. I would get emails like, you changed my life, thank you so much. And that, like, I felt good about that. Teaching real estate agents how to do marketing and use Instagram is not as personally satisfying. Yeah. Although again, it's helpful. It's helpful. But as far as like what I'm after, I'm looking for some like intrinsic like value.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it kind of goes along with the, we did a different video, the like freelancer mistakes video.
Yeah.
And part of it was the like relying on inspiration to actually like get any work done as opposed to like having the processes in place to help you do this stuff.
Yeah.
But I imagine when you're doing these businesses and you're starting them up, it's pretty hard to have processes in place because you're doing something entirely
Absolutely.
new. So how do you get organized, or have you had issues with this in the past where you're like building a business and it's getting kind of like it's got steam behind it,
but
not everything is all over the place? Like, how do you get organized and have a process of like, I do this on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Yeah, I don't think you're going to like this answer.
Okay. I love all of your answers.
So Sumalings, I think one of the most important things that you can do is understand your strengths. And my strength is starting something. My strengths are having all of the ideas to launch something and make it popular. My lack of strength is in systems and processes.
Your area of improvement.
My area of improvement, yeah. The stuff I suck at is that. Which is most likely why I've always sold. When, at some point I'm like, this is not fun anymore. Like everything is all over the place. I'm not interested in doing this anymore. And so I pass it off. So I can't say that I've yet to run a business that has gotten its systems and process. And that's probably why I've had 6-figure businesses. I have not had a 7-figure business. And I think that's my biggest burden to bear. And I don't know what the future holds. I think the future holds is that I'll have to eventually, I love to do everything on my own. I think I need to hire out and delegate a lot of that stuff. Part of the reason why I wanted to work at AppSumo was because I wanted to learn the systems. I said, this is a 7-figure business. What are they doing? And what can I learn to, bring back to my own businesses? Yeah. And so I'm just spying on you guys.
All right. We'll allow it. We'll make sure you don't walk behind our desk too slowly.
I'm here to spy. But I do want to say, I think it's integral to a business's success to have those systems in place. So if anyone wants to help me with that,
all right. I'm sure there are some Sumalings out there that would be willing to help. Well, this brings up the idea of I think there's a big debate on whether in a situation like this, you double down on your strengths where you're like, listen, I know I'm really good at starting things. So why don't I just start them and then figure out a way to fill in for my weaknesses? Like you were saying, bring somebody else in. Or do you try to hey, I know these are my weaknesses. I want to get better at these. I want to improve to be more well-rounded. And I think there's a hot debate between which one is better.
I'd
probably lean towards, go for it.
No, I would say, I think there's a case for both. I think that you should, as an entrepreneur, should always be growing. So if you say this is what I'm good at and I'm only doing it this, and then I'm going to leave, then you're not giving yourself room to expand. But I would say, bring someone in who's going to help you with that, but be their intern. Learn their, learn their systems. Bring someone in. I always say, I want to work with people who are smarter than me. And for that exact reason, because I only know what I know and I don't know what I don't know. And I need people who have different strengths around me so I can learn from them. So I would say those go hand in hand.
That's great.
Be open to learning, but learn from someone that you bring in to help you.
Yeah. That was something that, through my experience at AppSumo, when we were starting the Facebook ads program and we immediately hired an agency to do it for us. We had never really run ads on our own. We just hired this agency and they were doing them for all these prestigious brands. And we're like, okay, we would hop on a call with them every week and they would kind of talk about what they did this week and the plans they're going to do next week. Yeah. And every time we asked for results, they're just kind of brush by them. And that went on for probably 6 weeks. And by the end of it, me and Eamon were just kind of man, they're just kind of jerking us around.
Yeah.
So then we canceled our contract with them and he was kind of just you go figure out Facebook ads up to a point where you understand what we're looking for.
Right.
It's this whole test and invest idea that we do at AppSumo is we should understand the baseline of what this system looks like. So then when we're evaluating someone, we know okay, they're good or they're not. And it's I don't have to be an expert at Facebook ads and I'm not, but I know enough where now if I'm talking to an agency, I can be okay, you know your shit.
Smart.
Yeah, exactly. And then from there, we did that for maybe 2 months. We ran the ads ourselves, spending $50 a day, $20 a day, and then got a bit of an ROI. It's okay, I understand this well enough. I know what all of these goddamn acronyms are. And then we, hired Jack, who's been incredible and has been running them for the past few years, and it's been great. Yeah. So I think that's a really cool way to go about it too, where it's kind of the hybrid approach between the two.
Absolutely. You need to do your research. You need to know what you who you need to bring in and what skills they need to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Because otherwise you'll just get got.
But, exactly. And you don't want to get got.
You don't want to get got, Sumolings. Take that to the bank.
For sure.
What other lessons have you learned through business mistakes? I don't want to call them failures.
I mean, I think burnout is huge.
Yeah.
And in the entrepreneurial community, it's rampant. I feel like people don't talk about it because like chasing that hustle is so admired.
Hustle porn.
Yes. And I hate the hustle. You know, after I sold the couponing site, I thought I'll never do this again. If I felt like I was a rat, like pushing a button and getting food, that's what it's like, right? When you run an affiliate marketing site, you do a post is like pushing the button, you get money. It is just like a never ending cycle where it's like, well, the more posts I do, the more affiliate links I have, the more money I'm going to make. So, you know, it's like morning, noon, and night, I'm just working. Even though back then I had a team of 7 writers, I was still very active on the site, just burning myself into the ground. So much so that I was like, working on vacations, like, you know, my kids would be playing in front of me and I'd be worried, sorry, mommy's got to work right now. And it was just like, it wasn't the lifestyle I wanted to lead. And we all go into entrepreneurialism because we want to build this amazing lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
The like 4-hour work week. We're like, this is what it's going to be. And the truth is just like the hustle can be real.
Yeah.
And so I would say if you find yourself in that right now, you need to take a step back. You need to delegate, right? You need to hire people, even though it feels like, I don't want to hire people because then I have to train them how I do it and they may not do it as well. Hire people to help you out. You absolutely need to get a lot of things off your plate. And then also you really need to set working hours. Like if I could go back then, I would do like 10 to 4. And those are my working hours because those are the hours my kids are in school. And then that's it. Like,
yeah.
But I was so addicted to that like adrenaline rush of like the money coming in. And I'm sure most of you would be too, that it's like, I almost, negated my health, my family, all of that stuff. So in terms of working the hustle porn, like the hustle porn is overrated. Turn off your browser.
Yeah. Yeah. Because especially when you're doing it all on your own, it's just like the list of things you can do just gets endless. And Eamon, the president of AppSumo, for those of you who don't know, he said this to me once and I thought it was really profound, is that like your to-do list should be the things that you focus on last. And it's like, those are the things that you're writing down because you don't want to forget to do them because like they have some importance to them, but they're usually not like the most important thing.
Yeah.
And the thing that is the most important thing, like you're not going to forget. It's like if you're trying to close a contract with like a massive company, you don't need to write that down because you're going to forget about it.
Right.
It's like you need to write down like, switch the laundry over, take out the trash, or replace update my license plate. It's like those are the things.
That's true.
And so like I think a lot of people will go in and start their day looking at this 100-point to-do list of all these things they need to do, get overwhelmed, do nothing, or just do like the smallest things that make the least impact as opposed to like, what is that number one thing that, and so I've been starting to try to do that. Like, even if it's me sending one email to like the right person today, if I get that done, that's the number one thing because I've been putting off sending this one email all week.
Absolutely. Like, what's the one thing I'm going to do today that's going to push my business forward?
Yeah.
Like, that's what you should focus on. But when you're in the thick of it, it's so hard. It's like, okay, well, I gotta like ship these boxes and I gotta do this. And it's like, the struggle is real.
How would you prioritize things? Or have you gotten better at that?
In what way? Like,
so say you have all of these, you're doing a business yourself. You have all of these to-do lists. You're working on products. You also have like the social accounts or the email list that you're managing. You have new products that you want to make.
So in my next business, whatever that will be, I will hire a lot of that stuff out. And it's funny because just yesterday I was making an ebook for my nutrition business. And I thought, why am I doing this? I hate design. I'm not good at it. This is just taking my time. So design stuff, social stuff, like things that I don't want to say they're minor, but they're just like, your time is more valuable than to be doing that sort of stuff, right?
Especially if you're setting the strategy.
Yeah, you
and
need
then
to be working
execute
on the vision and working on those major points that are going to take your business into tomorrow, into next year. So that's what I would do.
Yeah. Are there any final things that you want to talk about for these business mistakes before we dive into some sumo
Listen,
questions?
I just hope that I didn't scare you away with all of these like scary stories about, because I still do believe that working for yourself is one of the most freeing, amazing things in the world. And I think that everyone should experience it at least once in your life, even if it's just a side hustle. There's nothing more exciting than knowing like I've got money coming in, but also if anything ever happened to my day job, I'm going to be okay. Right. And so that's that's not a feeling that everyone has all the time. So whatever it is that business idea that you're thinking about, start taking action on it and see if it works out. And if it doesn't, that's fine. Just work on something new, but never just keep going for it.
Yeah. So let's give them what's an action item. People leaving this video, it's like they've had this idea busting around in their head for a bit. Maybe they've been feeling some of that imposter syndrome, or they've been looking way down the road of like what it could be and not sure if they want to go that route. Like what's an action that they should take today to push this forward?
I mean, if they've done absolutely nothing, I think they need to start talking to their friends and family about this business idea and get some initial feedback. And just be like, what are your friends and family are saying? And if they're, if they're like, okay, that's a crazy idea, you shouldn't do that, then find different people to ask. So, you know what I mean? Just get a wide range of opinions and then start taking action. Like, what can I do today? What's the one thing I can do today to move my business forward? And so I have this kind of trick. It's called like a 5-minute action. What can I do in 5 minutes that's going to take my business? And we use that in nutrition coaching as well. But it's applicable here. Like, what's a 5-minute action? Because I have a full-time job and a family. What can I do to move that business forward? So think about what those 5-minute actions are that you could take every day.
Awesome. And post them below the video so we can see what actions y'all are taking. Let us know what your business ideas are.
All right. Sumolings, what questions do they have?
Let's see what questions Sumolings have. All right. Birch and Sparrow asks, Chrystie, how did you land your gig at AppSumo?
Ooh, good question. I was working at another startup in Austin, and the AppSumo recruiter reached out to me. I think she found me on LinkedIn. We had a conversation. I was like, this is really great, but I'm not really looking to make a move right now. But nice to meet you. Thank you. And then when I was ready to make a move, I reached back out to her. And here I am.
There you go.
Yeah, here I am. I met with Eamon first, and then I met with Alona. They brought me on to do content. And then as it turned out, we did a lot of videos and webinars together.
Yes, you did. Now you've left me holding the bag.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that goes into like a very cool, I guess, strategy for landing jobs that I think a lot of people don't think about, where it's like this all or nothing, like I need to quit my job and then find another one. I found that like a lot of these jobs, especially in startups, it's like they come through relationships. They come through like maybe doing some side work for a company that eventually turns into a full-time thing. I know that's happened a lot with people at AppSumo, where it's just like, come on as a contractor because you're good at a skill. And then you realize you guys like doing things together. The projects you've been working on are going in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Let's build them up and turn them into a full-time thing.
I think this person really wants to know how they can get a job at AppSumo. I think everyone wants to work at AppSumo. My biggest tip for you is like, become friends with someone else who works at AppSumo. You will eventually get a job here.
You might not be able to not get a job here.
Find them on the street, find them at a restaurant, wherever they are, hanging out, find them at the gym, start talking to them. Eventually, you will have a job at AppSumo.
Yes, that's probably true. Christine McElroy asks, Chrystie, any tips on getting visitors to your website?
Absolutely. Content is your number one play here, not just because I'm a content marketing strategist, but it's going to be what's going to get people in the door. It's going to be the single piece that introduces your business or your company to others. I mean, go out and make as much free content as you can in every form. Hit them all. Like, go to YouTube, go to TikTok, go to Instagram, go to Facebook, and create content for all of those platforms. Create content for your website. The people will come.
Okay, let's drill down on that a little bit. I'm going to press you.
Okay.
What's like a good place to start with content? Should it be building a website, or should it be, because it's like this website doesn't have any traffic, would it be better to build like content on places like, go where the fish are? So
both. You're going to have to do both in tandem, right? So you're eventually going to want to build a web property, whether that's your website or blog, where people will go to. So that needs to be built. But like you said, if it's not getting any traction, then you need to go where the fish are. Go to YouTube, go to Twitter, go to TikTok. You can go to TikTok today, create a video, and get 10,000 views. Like, that's just insane.
Now, Chrystie, why are you somebody who can touch on TikTok? What do you know about TikTok?
So recently I started dabbling with TikTok. I watch Gary Vee. He says it's going to be the next thing. I thought, I'm going to listen to what he says. So I got on TikTok, I started posting a few videos. Lo and behold, some of my videos went viral. 2 of my videos have over 1 million views. Where else can you get on a platform, have 10 videos total, and get 1 million views?
It's unbelievable.
Right?
The reach is crazy.
It really is the wild, wild west. And I could go off on a tangent about TikTok. I'm not going to. But again, if you don't already have a built-in audience, go where those people are, go where that audience might be, put out really compelling content that's unique, and those people will go find you. They will hunt you down.
Yeah. And another Gary Vee thing is like, make that content native to the platform that
Yes,
you're putting it on.
absolutely.
It's like you can't just go on TikTok and then just face the camera giving serious business tips, right?
Yeah.
Like what are your thoughts on that? Like how do you adapt your content to the medium you're pushing it out to?
Absolutely. And so Gary Vee actually has like an 80-page PowerPoint presentation on this thing. And I don't know if I can find the link for you guys, but I recommend that you find it. It's essentially his process, how he takes a single video and recreates content from that single video or that single talk for all the different platforms. And it is fascinating, right? So record one video and break it up for all of the different platforms. I love that. I mean, it doesn't have to be a video. It can be your blog post or whatnot. But again, you don't want to, create a graphic or a meme and post it on all of this, post the same thing everywhere because the audiences are different. That's it's just the way it is.
It's another really good point. Yeah. Know the audience as well as the platform.
Absolutely.
You want to make any predictions on TikTok where it's going to be a year from now?
I think TikTok is a really great place right now if you have a business that meets the needs of the general public. If you have a super niche business, I think TikTok may not be where you're going to get any traction right now in terms of converting people, right? But I still want you to get on TikTok right now because you want to get in early because at some point they are going to find ways where you can like drill down those videos, drill down to what you're offering. But get in now because that way, once it does hit its prime, you will already have like a built-in base.
And as much as I don't want to say this, I was very anti-TikTok for a long time.
Well, yeah, people think it's for kids.
Yeah, and I didn't really know anything about it. And then last night in preparation for this very serious interview, I'm like, all right, I'm in bed, I'm going to download TikTok. And it's like, it's very engaging. It's very engaging. Consumable content. And yeah, right now it's hard to see like the monetization play that you could do, but it's like that was the same thing with Instagram a few years ago, and now it's like one of the best platforms to advertise on. Yeah,
I think TikTok will build the tools for businesses. And then, TikTok will be ruined for everyone. But
and then all the millionaires and billionaire companies take it over and everything goes down.
I mean, in the past 2 weeks, I've gotten over 40,000 followers. Like, again, where can you get that otherwise? My website is not getting 40,000 followers every day or even this month. So again, like,
is it your highest like follower count platform?
It is my higher. Yes, it is my highest.
And you've been doing social media for a long time.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. What my biggest like personal Facebook page, I think I got to 30,000. So that was my biggest to date. And now I'm at 40,000 on TikTok in 2 weeks.
Now, Chrystie, where could people find you on TikTok?
Well,
the rebrand?
I will be rebranding soon because, again, when I started TikTok, I had no idea what I was doing. Right now, I'm Chrystie_13. So you can find me there.
Check her out. All right. Another serious question we have here. When are you running for president?
Ooh, never.
No?
Your girl is like anti-political.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'll run for like president of, I don't know, the cheerleading squad or something for my
I think you would win that.
Like,
were you a cheerleader?
I was a cheerleader. Okay. Of course I was
a
cheerleader.
Is that a question? But you were tattoo-less back then. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not running for president. No way. I don't know why anyone would want that job.
Sorry, folks.
Sorry.
It was actually Brandon who asked that one.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, any tips on getting more comments during live videos?
Ooh, yeah, absolutely. Sumalings love to comment on our videos.
Love to comment on your videos.
They love to comment on the videos. Listen, it's very easy. I always say when you open up the webinar, ask people where they're from, ask them what they're doing today. Be really engaging up front, and that will set the stage for the rest of the webinar, right? If you can get them to break the ice and like, okay, I guess I'll answer his question in the beginning of the webinar, it'll be better for the rest of the webinar. But ask questions, ask their opinions. People love to share their opinions.
Yeah.
So if you ask those types of questions during a live video, people will absolutely comment.
I think it's such a funny concept because, I've done these webinars, and sometimes you think like, man, no one's talking in the comments. Like, it's just crickets. And then it's like, haven't asked them anything. And then when you're like, hey, where are you guys tuning in from? Let us know in the comments. And then they just start blowing up. Or you'll ask something like, hey, is the screen coming through clearly? And people will be like, yep.
Yes.
Like, they will be super engaged, but you have to ask them to be engaged.
Do it early in the video. Do it early in the video. It will set the stage for the rest of it, for
100%.
sure.
Yeah. All right, next up. Have you ever hired a business coach? And do you think a newbie should hire a coach?
I haven't hired a business coach, But if I had to do it over, I absolutely would. And here's why. It helps you go faster.
Yeah.
Right? So then you don't have to learn all of those systems and processes that you may not be good at doing or that you don't even know you don't know yet. So by hiring a business coach, someone who can help you put those processes in place very early on, you can just go a lot faster. And the faster you go, the more you're going to start to see traction. The more you start to see traction, the more confident you're going to feel and the more you're going to chase that carrot. So
How would you validate them? Like, because I imagine there's also some frauds out there in this space. It's like, how would you pick out a good coach? How long would you use them for? What would be some good questions to ask?
Some good questions to ask a business coach. Of course, you want to talk to other people who have used them, right? So the best way you're going to find a good business coach is to ask the people around you, who are you using? That's going to be the best thing. So you want to see some testimonials. You can't always take, what they're saying on Instagram or what's on their website for face value. So you want to ask them, have they ever worked with people who are in your niche before? What did those results look like? Ask them what their process looks like for doing check-ins, right? So when you have a business coach, you're usually going to check in weekly, bi-weekly, ask what those are, ask what details will be discussed at each of those meetings, because you want someone who's going to be attentive to your goals, to your strategy, but also someone who's gone down that road before, right? So if I'm going to hire a business coach and I'm starting my nutrition business, I actually want to work with someone who's worked with other nutrition coaches, right? Because not only am I tapping into what they know, but I'm tapping into her experience with all of these other nutrition coaches.
Yeah.
So those are the questions to ask.
Really good.
Yeah.
Awesome. The last question we have here is actually from Jarrett on the AppSumo team. And this kind of goes to the theme of everything we've been talking about in this interview is describe a situation where you felt like a fraud or imposter, but were able to fight through it and come out the other side more confident in your ability.
Yeah, absolutely. When I started my personal finance and couponing site, there were people doing the same thing that I was doing, and they were just doing it so much better, and they were so knowledgeable. And here I was just kind of a hobbyist, putting my thoughts on the internet. And so I was very overwhelmed with imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to give this kind of advice when there are all these people who just know way more than I do. And then the way that I overcame that was I took action. I started teaching in-person classes where I was teaching, like I was looking the person in the eye that I was teaching, and they loved my information. They found it so useful, so helpful. And so all of a sudden I learned that it doesn't matter that there are people out there who know more than me. All I know is that I know more than this person in front of me, and that is super helpful
Such a good
for them.
point.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I read it somewhere that you just have to know 10% more of the person that you're trying to help. And that's so true. Usually, we think, oh, I need to be an expert. I need certifications. You don't. You just need to know a little bit more than the person you're teaching.
Yeah.
So
people are always looking up and being like, I don't know enough as them, as opposed to looking down and like, I know so much more than these people and I could help them.
Absolutely. Yeah. There will always be someone who knows more than you. Don't let that deter you from sending your message.
100%.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful point to end on.
Hey, happy to do it.
Chrystie, you nailed it. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for doing this. Any last words for the Sumolings behind the lens?
Chris, thank you so much for having me. It was
Chrystie.
really my pleasure to talk about all of my business failures with you. And Sumolings, again, I hope I haven't deterred you too much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Chrystie, thank you very much. Hopefully we'll be doing this again soon.
Yes.
All right.
Bye, guys.
See you later.